Are we being lied to about recycling? If you're still carefully rinsing out a plastic yogurt container while feeling like a responsible citizen, then yes, we've been had. The number is 9%. That's how much plastic has actually been recycled since we started this whole charade. Not 9% per year, 9% total, ever, in the entire history of plastic recycling. If a surgeon had a 9% success rate, we'd call it malpractice. If a parachute worked 9% of the time, we'd call it murder. But when the plastic industry achieves a 9% recycling rate over half a century, we call it progress toward a circular economy. Brilliant! The plastic industry has pulled off one of the most successful PR campaigns in modern history. They convinced an entire planet that the solution to their product's catastrophic environmental impact was you. Washing containers, sorting bins, feeling guilty when you accidentally contaminate the recycling with a greasy pizza box. Meanwhile, the actual plastic, it's sitting in a landfill in Kentucky, or burning in an incinerator in Indonesia, or floating as microparticles in your drinking water. But let's start where this particular scam actually began. 1970s, Keep America Beautiful campaign. You probably know the ad, Native American actor with a single tear rolling down his face as someone tosses trash out a car window. Heartbreaking. Effective. Completely designed by the beverage and packaging industries. The goal wasn't to stop pollution. The goal was to reframe pollution as your fault. Not Coca-Cola's, not Dow Chemicals. Yours, because you littered. This was the blueprint. Internal documents from the plastic industry in the 1970s, now public because eventually everything leaks, show they knew recycling plastic was economically unviable. The cost of collecting, sorting, cleaning, and reprocessing used plastic was higher than just making new plastic from oil. Substantially higher. Recycling plastic, at scale, has never made financial sense. The industry knew this in 1974. They promoted it anyway. Why? Because the alternative was regulation, bans, mandatory deposits, real consequences that would cut into profit margins. So they funded recycling programs. Not because recycling worked, but because recycling campaigns worked. As long as the public believed recycling was the solution, legislators wouldn't pursue actual solutions. The strategy was documented explicitly. A 1994 industry report, now public, because eventually everything leaks, showed that recycling cannot be allowed to fail because the public perceives recycling as a way to reduce waste, and failure would undermine public confidence in the industry. The Chasing Arrows, a logo that means nothing. You know the symbol. 3 arrows forming a triangle. It's on nearly every plastic product you've ever touched. Most people think it means recyclable. It does not. That symbol is a resin identification code. It tells you what type of plastic the item is made from: PET, HDPE, PVC, and so on. It was created by the plastics industry in 1988 specifically to help sorters separate plastic types. Notice what it doesn't say: that the item will actually be recycled, or can be recycled, or has any economic value in the recycling stream. The symbol was designed to look like recycling. The chasing arrows, the green color schemes that appeared on packaging, the word recyclable printed nearby. Genius visual deception. Because recyclable is not the same as recycled. A plastic bottle is technically recyclable. It could be melted down and reformed. Whether anyone will actually do that is a different question entirely. Spoiler, they won't. Only 2 types of plastic are recycled at any meaningful scale. Type 1, PET, like water bottles, and Type 2, HDPE, like milk jugs. Everything else, types 3 through 7, essentially garbage with a misleading logo. But the symbol appears on all of it: on yogurt cups, Type 5, almost never recycled. On clamshell containers, type 6, literally no one recycles this. On composite packaging, multiple plastic layers fuse together, physically impossible to separate and recycle. All of it marked with those helpful little arrows. The consumer sees the symbol, the consumer thinks recyclable. The consumer puts it in the blue bin, the consumer feels good. The plastic goes to a sorting facility, the workers pull out the two types that have market value, everything else goes to the landfill. The system works perfectly, just not the way you think. The China problem. For decades, we had a convenient solution to the recycling lie: export it. From the 1990s through 2017, the developed world shipped millions of tons of plastic recyclables to China. We called it recycling. China called it importing trash. Most of it wasn't recycled there either. It was cheaper to landfill or burn, but it was no longer our landfill, so the statistics looked great. Then, in 2018, China implemented Operation National Sword. New policy: we're done being your dump. No more contaminated plastic, no more mixed bales. If you want to send us recyclables, they need to be clean and sorted to a 0.5% contamination rate, which is functionally impossible with curbside collection. Overnight, the recycling industry collapsed because it turned out the recycling infrastructure in the US and Europe was actually just an export infrastructure. We weren't processing this material, we were shipping it. Countries scrambled to find new buyers: Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand. They briefly accepted shipments, then they also banned plastic imports after their own environmental crises became undeniable. Some of the plastic is now shipped to Turkey, some to Poland. Some sits in warehouses in California waiting for a market that will never materialize. Because the market for recycled plastic is terrible. Virgin plastic, plastic made directly from oil, is cheap. Recycled plastic is expensive to produce and inconsistent in quality. When oil prices drop, the economics of recycling collapse entirely. Companies say they want recycled content, then may quietly use virgin plastic because it's half the price. The loop was never circular. It was always a straight line to the landfill with a detour through a sorting facility. So we could pretend. Let's be specific. The EPA estimates that in 2018, the U.S. generated 35.7 million tons of plastic waste. Of that, 3 million tons were recycled. 8.4%. And that's the generous number. That's plastic that entered a recycling facility. Whether it was actually turned into new products? Different story. A 2022 Greenpeace report analyzed the full cycle. They're finding 5% of plastic is actually recycled into new products in the US. 5%. The rest? Landfill, 75%. Incineration, 15%. Litter, 5%. But here's the beautiful part. The industry can claim much higher numbers by using creative accounting. If plastic enters a sorting facility, it's recycled in some reports, even if it's immediately rejected and sent to the dump. If plastic is shipped overseas, it's exported for recycling, even if the receiving country has no functional recycling infrastructure. If plastic is burned for energy, some jurisdictions count that as energy recovery, a fancy term for trash incineration. The statistics are designed to obscure failure, and the consumer keeps washing yogurt cups because the bin says recycling, because the logo says recyclable, because we were told this is how you save the planet. We're not saving anything. We're maintaining the illusion so the industry can keep producing 400 million tons of virgin plastic per year without regulatory interference. Chemical recycling? The new lie. Now that mechanical recycling has been thoroughly exposed as a failure, the industry has a new plan: chemical recycling. This sounds promising. Instead of melting plastic, you break it down chemically to its molecular components, then rebuild it into new plastic. Infinite loop, circular economy, problem solved. Except Chemical recycling plants require enormous energy inputs. The process is expensive, the yield is low, and the output often so degraded it can't be used for food grade packaging anyway, which was the whole point. Several high profile chemical recycling facilities have already shut down after failing to achieve commercial viability. Others exist primarily to generate carbon credits and green PR, not actual recycled plastic. A 2023 investigation found that one major chemical recycling facility in Pennsylvania processed 2,000 tons of plastic waste and produced 60 tons of usable material. 3% conversion rate. The other 97% incinerated. But the press releases called it advanced recycling technology, and the company's marketing team posted photos of plastic bottles being given new life. The loop continues. What happens to your yogurt cup? Let's follow one specific item. Polypropylene yogurt container, type 5, plastic. You finish the yogurt, you rinse it, you check the bottom, chasing arrows, number 5, recyclable. You put it in the blue bin. The truck picks it up, mixed with hundreds of other items, glass, paper, metal, 17 different plastic types, food residue, liquid, a dead battery someone thought was recyclable. It arrives at a materials recovery facility. Conveyor belts, magnets pull out steel, eddy currents pull out aluminum, workers pull out cardboard. Your yogurt cup is light. It's mixed with other plastics. It's contaminated with residue. It falls through sorting screens designed for heavier items. It's too small for automated sorters. It's not worth the labor cost to manually separate. It's pushed into the residual pile. That pile is loaded into a truck. The truck drives to a landfill. Your yogurt cup is buried under dirt. Total time as recycling? 4 hours. Total time in the landfill? Approximately forever. Polypropylene doesn't biodegrade. It photodegrades, breaks into smaller pieces when exposed to UV light. But underground, in a landfill, it's stable for centuries. But you rinsed it. You sorted it. You did your part. Exactly as designed. The guilt economy. This is the true genius of the system. They made it your responsibility, not the manufacturers, not the retailers. Yours. Did you rinse it thoroughly? Did you remove the label? Did you check if your municipality accepts type 5? If recycling fails, it's because consumers are lazy, contaminated the stream, didn't care enough. Never mind that the product was designed to be unrecyclable. Never mind that the packaging uses 3 different plastic types fused together. Never mind that there's no market for the material even if it was perfectly sorted. The failure is yours. Meanwhile, global plastic production continues to double every 15 years. By 2050, we're projected to produce more than 1 billion tons annually. But don't worry, you can offset that by washing a yogurt cup. The solution they'll never pursue. There is a solution. It's simple, it's proven, it works. Reduce production. Mandate reusable packaging. Ban single-use plastics where alternatives exist. Require producers to fund the actual cost of managing their products' waste. Extended producer responsibility. It exists in some countries. It works. Manufacturers pay for collection and processing. Suddenly, they design products that are actually recyclable. Or they switch to reusable systems, or they reduce packaging. Because when the cost of waste falls on the producer, the economics shift. But in the US, the industry lobbies against it, hard, because EPR would end the free ride. Right now, taxpayers fund municipal recycling programs. You pay, through taxes, to collect and process waste generated by corporations who pay nothing. The cost is externalized, the profit is privatized. As long as that remains true, nothing changes. The industry will continue to promote recycling, not because it works, because it prevents regulation. Closing the loop that was never open. So, are we being lied to? Yes. The recycling symbol on your trash is a marketing device. The blue bin is theater. The industry's commitment to sustainability is a press release. 9%. That's the legacy. That's the truth. And every time you carefully sort a plastic container, you're participating in the performance, maintaining the illusion, allowing the system to continue exactly as it was designed. Which is not to say you should stop recycling. Aluminum, glass, paper, those materials actually have functional recycling streams. Type 1 and Type 2 plastics occasionally get recycled, but understand what you're doing. You're not saving the planet. You're managing waste that should never have been created in the first place. The solution isn't better sorting, it's less plastic. The industry knows this. They've known it for 50 years. They're just hoping you keep rinsing yogurt cups long enough that no one notices. Genius. Truly